What about, you mentioned that opportunity you had filling in for Kyle Busch in the Daytona 500. Kyle gets injured in the Xfinity race the day before. Tell me about how that all went down. What led to getting the call from Joe to fill in for Kyle Busch on such short notice there?
What a weird opportunity there. I mean, Kyle and I are good friends, and I was actually watching the race, driving back from Daytona, and pulled in my driveway, and I got a text, "How far are you away from Daytona?" And I pulled in my driveway in North Carolina. I said an hour. They didn't ask me how. I mean, it was an hour in a plane, so I wasn't going to tell them I was 8 hours away. So I said an hour away, and they said, "This is one of the Toyota guys. I think you'll be getting a call really soon on an opportunity." And within the next 30, 45 minutes, they called me and said, "Do you want to fill in for Kyle for the Cup race?" And I said, "Absolutely. Would be honored to." So I'm an hour away in a plane saying, "Can you send one to come get me?" So I think Joe's family and everyone was going down that night. So I ran to my house, threw some stuff in a suitcase, and I didn't even have a helmet because my team, the team I drive for, is based out of Ohio. So I gave Tyler Gibbs from Toyota my helmet that I had won the championship the year before. I gave it to him at Daytona, my championship helmet, signed the shield. So that night I texted him. I said, "Can I borrow that helmet to run the Daytona 500 in?" So I wore Kyle's suit, and I had an old pair of shoes and some gloves, but wore it in the 500. And Tyler said, "Absolutely, that'll be cool." So now I can say I have the truck or the helmet that won the Truck Series championship and that is running the Daytona 500. So,
hey Matt, tell me you changed the shield.
Yeah. So what we got is we got some rubbing alcohol and wipe the shield off, and I had to re-sign it after the race, and then put plus Daytona 500 helmet.
Dude, that's a cool story, man. Wow.
Yeah, it was a wild night. So by the time I pulled my driveway to when I was taking off a plane, it was an hour and a half, I think.
That's amazing.
Took off down to Joe Gibbs Racing, setting some seat inserts to see what seat insert I fit in the best. And it was actually one of Kyle's seats that I fit in the best. So I used his that was already in the car and went with it.
What were the nerves like those hours leading up to the Daytona 500? You go through driver introductions, the drivers meeting, standing on the grid, all that. What were your emotions like during that point?
Well, the hardest part was going to sleep that night. I mean, so they flew me down there, and I stayed in their PR department had a motorhome that nobody stayed in. So they shoved me in here, and I'm here by myself going, just scratching your head going, "My God, I'm going to start my first Daytona 500 race tomorrow morning." I've never drove a cup car in a race. I'm like, this is going to be quite interesting. So first thing that morning, I woke up, or I didn't even really probably wake up because I probably was awake all night, and went and got fitted in the car.
Man, what a story, man. I mean, I don't even know if I realized that was the first time you drove a cup car your whole career.
Yeah, I never drove a cup car. The odd thing is I had practiced a cup car. I had practiced Robbie Jordan's cup car at Nashville.
Right.
And that winter, I actually drove Paul Menard's cup car when they did the test.
Right.
So I did the cup test because Paul's had a frozen pipe at his house and broke. And he called me that morning and said, "Hey, my house, I got a flood at my house. Can you go practice my cup car?" So I just went and did single runs in the cup car. And then literally a month later, got the call to go race in the 500 against Paul. So it was actually one of the first times but it's the second time that Paul and I actually got to race against each other. And I was going to beat him until the last lap, wrecked in 1 and 2. And I think we were running about 10th coming to the checkered. And imagine that, everybody wrecked at Daytona coming to the checkered.
So, man, I don't remember what year was that?
2015.
2015. So, man, how did that race go? Did I mean, when you were in the car, you knew you had probably one of the best cars out there, a very competitive car. How long did it take you to figure out, man, I got something here that I could probably win at if I use my head right, you know?
That really, so they just told me, well, we don't want you to race anybody. We want you to ride in the back, go right around. I mean, the last quarter of the field, get the feel of the car for the first.
Hey, Matt.
Yep.
Didn't they know who? They did not know who they were talking to? I mean, they were really. I mean, Matt Crafton. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah. So I rode for that first. I mean, 400 miles of the deal, and at the end, I went, and I remember. I'll never forget that day. I was really tight in traffic, and they just kept freeing me up all day, and finally got it where it would turn, and that, like I said, that thing was a rocket, and we had an opportunity to finish top 10 in our first race, so I was pretty happy with that until
that's amazing, man. What a story, dude.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing, if you ever get that opportunity and you think everything's perfect, you go sit in that race car and you're like, oh, I'm good, that seat fits me good. I'll never forget, we had a red flag on the front straightaway, and I had the worst muscle spasm on my back. Kyle's back does not arch, or his back arches a lot more than my back does. And I had my seatbelts undone. I was hurt so bad. I was getting ready to crawl out on the ground and lay down. I'm like, Jesus, this is gonna be bad if I have to crawl out. And
so it was that bad, huh?
Oh, it was that bad. I was hurt. I'll never forget. We got to get moving. So yeah, it was pretty miserable at that point, because, as you know, sitting in somebody else's seat for that long, it was brutal. And at first, for the first 2 hours, it was fine. That last 2 hours, it was not fun.
Hell, you used to running 200 to 250 mile races. Hell, this was 500 miles, dude.
Oh yeah. Yep. I had time for a nap.